Welcome to episode 19 of the 24-Hour Hustle Show, and today we got special guests, entrepreneur, investor, lawyer, and so much more. He's fucking crushing it. Rocco Cozza. Welcome to 24-Hour Hustle. I'm your host, Anthony Freeze, and today we got special guest, Rocco Cozza, and this is the show where we get to talk with accomplished guests that are doing big things, and this is a gentleman that I've been able to connect with on Instagram. I've seen a lot of the work that you've been doing, and we got an opportunity to sit down over a cup of coffee and really kick it a little bit and to talk about a lot of different things. So I'm definitely glad we got you able to be on the show and talk about all the things you got going on. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, man. It was great meeting you for coffee and learning about the background of the show, why you're doing it. I think it's awesome, man. You're kind of putting it out there and showing people the real shit that happens.
Oh, yeah.
The real things that entrepreneurs, because everybody has those, you see all the stories online of, hey, I went from the basement of my brother's house to this mansion, but they don't talk about the in between.
Right.
I think that's what your show does, and it's awesome. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm big on transparency,
Yeah.
and we're definitely in a time where people want to see it raw and real.
Yes.
And especially with social media, you can actually show people the journey of where you started into how you got to where you are.
Absolutely.
And if people are following, they can actually learn a lot throughout that journey.
Absolutely.
So for people who don't know who you are, why don't you just go over some of the background stuff for people who don't know all of the different things you do. So what is your background, and tell us how you got to those different places.
Wow, okay, so that's a big question.
I know.
So if I always tell people, when people ask what I am, I say I'm an entrepreneur that happens to practice law for a living, right? So I'm a lawyer. So I have a law degree, I have an MBA, I have my bachelor's degrees in psychology. So my journey's kind of been all over the place. As of right now, I practice law, I invest in businesses, I own a bunch of businesses. I've been doing real estate investing for, probably since 2004. I do some business coaching, writing, speaking. So I kind of do a lot of everything.
Ton of stuff, yeah.
Which I love.
Yeah.
That's just me. Always, from the time, I think I was an entrepreneur from the time I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I used to, buy and sell baseball cards, come up with business ideas, always trying to make money when I was a kid. And then as I went through high school, college, took a year off. I always say people, part of my entrepreneur training I took a year off between college and law school. Mm-hmm. I worked as a personal trainer at the gym. That was probably the best year of my life because it taught me how to sell. Mm-hmm. Taught me how to understand people. Because really any business you're in as an entrepreneur, business owner, lawyer, this stuff, you have to know people, right? Mm-hmm. It's all about the relationships. And that year I learned so much. I was dealing with young people, old people, overweight people, fit people, and just the different personalities and the different mindsets. And I learned a lot. And that's kind of when that bug started biting me again. Mm-hmm. And I went to law school, came out of law school, started practicing law, which I love. Don't get me wrong, I love practicing law. I don't consider myself a lifetime lawyer. Mm-hmm. I just like business too much. I started investing in real estate, got into laundromats, tanning salons. Now I own some healthcare company, tech companies, do a lot of everything.
Yeah.
And I'm also a dad of 3 kids and a husband to a wonderful wife.
The most important job.
Yeah, that is definitely, having kids is by far the hardest job I have. But I love it. It's so much fun. And so that's really my story in a nutshell. So,
nice, awesome.
Yeah.
So one of the things I like to always ask people, because not everybody desires or aspires to want to be an entrepreneur. So what inspired you to even want to be an entrepreneur and get your hands in all those different things?
Freedom. Honestly, it was. I look at myself, and it's funny because before I got married, I remember talking to my wife and said, I will never be a 9-to-5 guy. Mm-hmm. So if that's what you're looking for, this isn't going to work. Mm-hmm. I said, I just love the hustle. And that's, the name of the show is great because it resonates with me. And people use that term a lot. They say hustle, and everybody says they hustle. But hustle to me means something very specific.
Okay.
It's, you have to be able to understand it is going to be hard all the time. Mm-hmm. My life is not easy. Being an entrepreneur is not easy, but that's what I love, the challenge, the problem solving. So I was really driven by the freedom of doing what I want and being able to solve problems how I want to. You know, when you work for a company or you have a job, you're told to do things a certain way, right? Company has certain policies you follow, you know, different procedures, so you're kind of boxed into a framework. As an entrepreneur, you create the framework. And that's what I love, is that freedom to do what I want to do. Wake up every day and say, this is my day. And part of being an entrepreneur, which I also love, is just meeting people. I'm a people person. I love to talk to people, love to have discussions, and that's really what drove me, and still to this day drives me. It's not about money, it's not about success, it's not about keeping score, it's about connecting with people, problem solving, and the freedom to do what I want and design my life the way I want. That's really what has driven me to where I am right today, I guess.
Yeah, and I would say a lot of those things that you mentioned, I feel exactly the same way. One of the biggest things that made me want to become an entrepreneur is definitely the freedom, and I didn't want somebody to have the control over my life.
Yeah.
And to say, you know, if I was good enough or if I was worth this, and if I felt like I was worth more, you know, they wouldn't have any say-so over that. I can determine that. So I know one of the biggest moments for me that made me even go even harder into the entrepreneur avenue is when I got fired from my job for the first time. And previous to that, I was actually very loyal to one place where I was working for about 9 years, and then I transitioned to something new, try to find a better avenue for myself. Worked there for about a year. You know, it didn't work out, and you know, one of the best days happened in my life is when I got fired. And I just knew at that point, I knew I never wanted that to happen again. And not only that, but you know, you want to leave a legacy for your family.
Absolutely.
You want to be able to impact people, and I know that's something that's near and dear to my heart as well. And as far as, you know, as people go, because one of the things people always do in business is they like to network. I don't really like that word too much. I like to be a connector.
Yes, that's exactly right. I couldn't agree more.
You know what I mean? And that's I feel like that's one of the hardest challenges as well for some entrepreneurs, is trying to find ways to connect with people, because sometimes it could come off a little fake when you're trying to connect with somebody.
But here's the thing, that I love that you brought that point up, because I talk about this all the time. I actually spoke at a school last week. I was speaking to 6th graders about my career journey in life, and I was giving them some life lessons. And the last one I left them was, I said, always be kind, because kindness wins. I remember my mom growing up, she told me, you know, I don't care who you become, you treat the janitor the same way you treat the principal. And that's always stuck with me. And I looked back, and when I kind of reflect on my life and my journey, I look at every awesome opportunity I have in front of me today, or have all come from me being kind and connecting people and helping people with no expectation of anything in return. And I've kind of just lived that principle my entire life. You know, I'm not a perfect human being. Like, I make mistakes. I've failed a shit ton of times. You know, I'm not always doing the right thing. But one thing I've always tried to do is help people. And so when you say it's not about networking, it's about connecting people. Like, I'll go to events, and if I meet somebody, I know I can't help it. I know somebody can. I have no problem putting them together. And what people don't understand is when you do that, that's where the opportunity comes. It's the truth. I mean, it really. I look at my entire life, and every big opportunity I have or have had have come from connecting people, helping people, and being kind. That's it.
That's one of the great things that I love about this platform, is that with everybody that has been able to come on, is we are able to connect different people to different resources, or be able to make different collaborations happen. And I just really love the community that we are building here, and just having genuine support towards one another and promoting each other. And I just really like the collaborations, and I said this on the story not too long ago, like the collaborations is at an all-time high right now, as far as just, you know, the community that we're building together. Because there's not one thing that I can't stand most, is when somebody's just trying to business card push.
That's the worst. That is the absolute worst.
It's like
I don't even bring business cards to networking events, because I don't do it. I'm like, no, like, let's exchange numbers. Let's help each other. Like, I'm not there to pass out business cards. Plus, I have like 6 different or 7 different business cards from different companies. It's like a deck of cards. So, I don't want to do that. So.
Right. Exactly. I totally get that.
Yeah.
So who are some people that inspire you as far as business and entrepreneur goes? Like, what are some of the things that has developed your mindset?
So that's a really good question. So first one was my family, right? My mom, she was a single mother, worked her ass off to always provide for me. So I always was inspired by her. She taught me at a very young age. I remember her always saying to me, "I don't care what you become, just be the best. Like if you're the garbage man, be the best garbage man there is." And that stuck with me. And I remember, I was a good student, a straight A student, but I remember I brought home my first C. I think it was my sophomore year of high school, honors biology. And my mom said to me, "Well, if that's as good as you can do, then that's fine." And that pissed me off. So I'm like,
the way she worded that, I was like, what? What do you mean?
And that's what she did. So she's always inspired me because she's really instilled in me that self-worth to push myself, to know that I could always do better. That's really what motivates. So she first and foremost inspires me. And my kids, right? I mean, I'm their example. They will do what I do. So I make sure that I live a life of integrity, honor, kindness, and hard work. Like, I want them to understand what hard work is. But if you're looking at it from a business perspective, I mean, obviously I'm a huge Gary Vee fan because he just says it like it is. And that's kind of how I've always been. I read a ton. Like an insane nerd. Like
really?
I probably read 2 books a week.
2 books a week? How do you manage that?
So,
because that's a lot. So this could be some good insight right there.
Yeah, so I have my morning routines. I'm a big routine person. So I have morning routines, evening routines, I have all these habits. Part of my morning routine is I have an elliptical in my basement. I go down there every morning, and I don't do it for like the workout. I do it to like open my mind up for the day. I'll get on there for 45 minutes and read every single morning. So every morning I'm reading for 45 minutes on my elliptical. So I'm working out, reading. I started doing that when I was in law school. So I didn't have time to work out. So I would go to the gym, and literally I was a nerd on the Stairmaster, on the exercise bike with my big ass law book and a highlighter, riding a bike and highlighting stuff in a law book. So I just kind of created that habit, and I still do it now. So and I read before I go to bed. So I read, a ton, and I get so much inspiration from so many people. Like I said, Gary Vee's one. The other book, and I always tell people, if you're going to read one book in your life, actually 2 books, I take that back. The first book is called The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. It's a long read, super long. I mean, thick, probably 300-400 pages. It'll take a while.
Yeah.
But within the first, I think 1 or 2 chapters is all you need because it talks about. And this changed everything for me. I'm mid-30s. I remember I was probably, I want to say like 33, 34 when I read the book. I'm 40 now, which I still can't do.
You look damn good.
Well, thank you. You can't see the gray hair. So I read this book, and, people have a tendency to blame others for what happens in their life, right? This book, I think it's the first or second chapter, it talks about you are 100% responsible for everything that happens in your life. And when I read through it, it clicked. It's like, and they use this formula, I think it's called like E plus R equals O. And it's the event plus the reaction equals the outcome. In any situation, you can always control one of those. So that means you're 100% in control. You either did something, didn't do something, or the way you reacted to it. That flipped this switch in my head that I got it. So I tell people, like, that's a book to read. The other one is The Compound Effect.
Oh, yeah. I love that one.
Yeah, I think Darren Hardy's the guy that wrote Success Magazine. Because that's such a simple principle, and no one gets it.
Right.
People give up. They get to the goal, like the 5-yard line, and they just like, shit, I'm done. It's too much work. It's those little habits every single day they compound over time. And those are two books, 2 really inspiring books that really motivate me. So that's, I can't really say outside of a person, I listen to a ton of Gary Vee, but books in general, but those 2 books have really had the most impact on my life.
One of the best things that I took out of The Compound Effect, and it's always stuck with me, and it was towards the beginning of the book, when he was talking about if you were given the option or the choice to be able to either pick $1 million or a penny that doubles in value every single day, which would you choose? Now, from looking at it in the beginning, you think, well, I'm gonna just take the $1 million. Right, exactly, I want that instant gratification.
Right.
But if you actually do the math on it, the penny that doubles in value every day, if you're patient and if you wait, that is actually going to be worth more in the long run.
Yes.
And that's how it is. Even just the things that you're doing as far as work goes. I mean, if what you're doing right now, the small little habits that you're doing, if you feel like those things are going to eventually build up to, you know, bigger results, and you're willing to put in the time and the effort and be patient, it's going to eventually come.
Right.
And you'll be happy with the results.
Yeah.
Another thing that I wanted to say, one of the best books that I think I read that helped develop my mindset is actually called What People Say When They Talk to Themselves.
I've never read that book.
It's actually really good.
Go on my list.
It's really good.
Okay.
And it really talks about how you can change your mindset, and it talks about what are the key things that develop your mindset, develop your thought process, and how you can actually get going. So, like, for example, if somebody was a smoker and they wanted to stop smoking, what can they do to start changing that?
Yeah.
And one of the things that they always recommend, that he recommends in that book, is positive affirmations.
Okay.
Keep speaking it over your life, because you got to reprogram your thought process. And he gives the steps on how your mind works, pretty much. And these are the 5. It's your mindset, your belief, your emotions, your attitude, and the actions you do. That's exactly how all of our minds work. And when I learned that, I was like, this is what I want to do, because I want to get to the root of how I can influence and impact people the most. So if I know those things, and I know what influences people's mindset, which is the books people read, the people they associate with, the things they associate with, and the things they see, when you also think about that as well, that sounds like media.
Right. No, you're
So those are the 2 books that I would add into addition that have totally helped me a lot. So if anybody hasn't read any of those books that we just recommended, highly get those books as well. Because I'm big on reading as well.
Yeah.
Not quite at 2 a week, maybe one.
That's just me, man. I love to read. I'm fascinated by people that'll say, I haven't read books in school.
Right.
Like, because I'm a firm believer in, if you're not growing, you're dying.
Right.
There's no staying the same in life.
Right.
The way society moves, the way technology changes, it moves so quick.
Right.
So if you're not getting better every single day, you're getting worse.
Right.
So if you're not taking steps every day to better yourself as a person, what are you doing? You're dying.
Right. I think a quote by Einstein. He said, I think it was a quote by Einstein. He said something along the lines of, "The day you stop learning is the day you die." Or I can't exactly remember the quote, but I wish I did right now.
No,
but
that makes sense.
But it's something along those lines where you live throughout your life until you're about 80 and you learn nothing new, but you actually die in your 20s when you stop learning, when you get done and graduate from college. So I just thought that was hugely impactful, because a lot can change, and will change in those years. So if you're not learning, and if you're not reading and continuously trying to add to your personal development, you're gonna lose, unfortunately.
And that impacts people so substantially, because I think it's Les Brown who says the quote, that some of the best music, art, technology, and inventions are in the graveyard. Mm-hmm. People die with them inside because they don't take the time or take the effort to find their passion, to find that one. We all have that one thing, I believe. Mm-hmm. We all have a gift. Mm-hmm. I believe I found what mine was over time. Mm-hmm. Some people just go to the grave with it because they don't make the effort. Right. And I just don't, I can't, it's hard for me to wrap my brain around that when I meet people and they say things like, I don't reason, why? Right. Why? I can't, no one can answer it, but it's, because when you do that, when you start developing yourself, you unleash all these things from inside, and it's just so interesting to watch that process happen for someone. Mm-hmm. And then when to see people that just don't make the effort, it's just, I feel like you're just giving up. Absolutely. And in those years from 20 to maybe 60, whenever you retire or whenever you get to that point, are the prime years of your life. Yes. When you actually think about it, if let's say you were to reach age 100, and from that time frame, you got 100 years here on this earth. Yes. And that's not a lot of time when you think about it, because time could go pretty fast. But in that lifespan, from 20, let's say 20, when you graduate from either high school or, college, let's say you got your associates, whatever, and then you retire at maybe 60, and you live to maybe about 80 or 90 or so, you got a ton of time in the middle where you can be taking advantage of a lot of different things. I mean, this is the core part of your life, and if you're doing something that you're not passionate about, or if you're in a dead-end job, or you feel like you're going to something that you hate every day,
you should make a change because you're spending the majority of your life doing something you hate.
Yes, exactly.
When you really get down to the thick of things, like
Yeah.
you should be spending those things productive, doing something that you love. So, find what you're passionate about and go do it.
Absolutely, man. And fear prevents people from doing that.
Mhm.
Fear of risk. And I've prevented I'll be completely transparent and vulnerable right now. Like, I've prevented myself from doing things in the past because of the fear. I have a family, I have kids, and that responsibility weighs on me. But once you kind of get to that point, like, you can't take it anymore,
Mhm.
and you take that risk, it's worth it.
Right.
It's going to be hard. Like, I always tell people, being an entrepreneur is not easy. Every day, it's hard. You're stressed, you're worried, but it's so worth it in the end.
Absolutely.
You just got to take that jump.
Right.
You just got to. Failure's part of the process.
Mhm.
You're going to mess up. You're going to make mistakes. We could spend 5 hours in this room talking about the failures I've made in my life, but they get you where you are.
Absolutely.
The only time you really fail in life is when you quit.
Mhm.
The rest is just learning.
Mhm.
So it's why not do what you love and are passionate about for that hunk of time we have on this earth.
Right.
Why not?
Right.
And it's amazing to me that people just don't do it.
Absolutely. And actually, that actually transitions us into a good portion of that I want to talk about is what is some of the things that you feel like entrepreneurs struggle with the most? Because, you're a business coach, you've done some mentoring, you speak and things like that. So as an entrepreneur also yourself, what are some of the things that you find are the initial struggles and hurdles that entrepreneurs face, and how can they overcome those?
Well, that's a great question. So I would say there's a couple, and one of them goes to the book you're talking about, mindset, right? That's the biggest struggle I see with people is mindset, because we live in a society where we are surrounded by negativity.
Mm-hmm.
The news media, politics, there's so much negativity, and that impacts people, right? If you're surrounded by negativity, it's hard to have the right mindset. So a lot of people I've worked with, I start with just changing their mindset, getting them to be positive, to be motivated. Look, you're going to have bad days. I have shitty days sometimes. Like, there are just days where I wake up, I'm like, I'm just kind of pissed off. It happens, but it's getting that mindset, right? Making that switch go off in your head, like, okay, I can do this. So that's the first thing, and it's really just getting people to believe in themselves. And I always tell people, look, if it has been done, that means it can be done. And you have to understand it takes work, it's perseverance, persistence, but you can do it. That's the first struggle I see entrepreneurs go with. The second one is probably, not having a clear vision. Now, you really got, when I say you got to have goals in a roadmap, you really have to have finite, distinct goals. I'm a big believer. I wrote this book. It's an ebook, small ebook, but 10 Life Hacks for the Entrepreneur. I talk about some life hacks, but one of the things I don't talk about in that book, but I touch on a little bit, is goal setting. I set 3 types of goals: short, medium, and long term. And that gives me targets, so I know what I'm doing. Because if you don't have a target, that's a lot of entrepreneurs go wrong because they don't know what they're going for. I want to start a business. I want to make money. Well, okay, what does that mean? And you got to really boil that down and say, okay, this is what I want. And then you reverse engineer how to get there. Right. That's another big piece. The third thing I would say is that people have a very hard time understanding that to be an entrepreneur, to be a leader, to be whatever, you have to be authentic and vulnerable. People want to put on this show. They want people to think they're this certain type of person. You got to get out of your own way.
Right.
You got to let your faults out, and they want to pretend they're good at everything. You're not. Focus on your strength. I think I'm going to talk about this when we met for coffee, but it's focus on your strengths, because there's a couple people I've worked with over the past couple of years, and I give them the explanation. I said, look, if you're an entrepreneur and you have a set of skills, so say we have 6 skills, right? I got 3 over here that are 7s, and I have 3 over here that are, we'll say, 4s. If I focus on these, I could probably get them to a 7, right? But I'm not focusing on these. So now I have a bunch of mediocre skills, 7s. If I forget about these and work really hard at these, now I have 3 10s. And that means I'm really good at 3 things. That's how you become successful. You focus on what you're good at, you're passionate about, and what drives you. That's where people go wrong. And once they can make that shift to really focusing on their strengths, that's when everything changes. That's when they start achieving success. they don't do the things they're not good at. They don't focus at it. It's the lack of focus, and those are probably the three biggest struggles I would say that I see from entrepreneurs. Honestly,
Absolutely.
It's-
And I would agree with that as well. I mean, and also, I mean, whenever you're building up your strengths and whenever you focus on those things, you can actually find other people that are strong in the areas that you're weak at,
Yes.
and be able to collaborate with them, and then you're actually stronger together.
Yes. It's building that team. You're right. I mean, it is, and it's so true because there's so much to do as an entrepreneur. There's so much that goes into the life of an entrepreneur. And if I'm spending time trying to develop my weaknesses, for what? I mean, I'm not going to get paid for my weaknesses. I'm not going to make money off my weaknesses. I'm not going to build legacy off my weaknesses.
Right.
I have these skills over here. That's where my legacy is. That's where the money is. That's where the success is. That's where I focus. And
Right.
that's how when I figured that out, everything changed for me.
Absolutely. I feel the same way. And one of the biggest things that you said in that was also being authentic.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things, especially with it being social media and
Yes.
you being able to, put certain things out there, people try to put out this
Oh, yeah.
this facade that everything is so squeaky clean and perfect and nothing goes wrong and it's just fake at the end of the day.
100%. Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
And and one of the things that you also talk about
Yeah.
in an event that you're actually putting on
Yeah.
is some personal branding.
Yes.
And that's also an important thing as
Yeah.
well. And authenticity is a very important thing in that. And one of the things people do struggle with is just being authentic because they feel like they got to put on this facade or they got to portray themselves as something that they're not and things just to impress other people. And at the end of the day, people will genuinely care and like you for who you are and the hard work that you do.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the personal branding event that you
Yeah.
have coming up, and what are maybe even some of the things that you plan to discuss in that,
Sure.
and what is the goal and objective that you want to see happen out of that?
Sure. So I'm holding this. It's an online, but I'm really an online conference call I'm holding. I think it's on the 21st of February. Where so I own a social media and digital marketing company, and I do a lot of social media training, education, and what I really, like you said, entrepreneurs need to understand that whatever business you have, whatever service you sell, they're buying you, right? I'm here because I like you. The 24 Hustle show is your brand, your product, but it's you who I like. That's why
Right.
we're here. We're talking. So
Likewise,
authentic.
feel the
Exactly.
same
Yeah,
way.
right, exactly. But that's what people don't understand. It's about being authentic, being you. And so what I'm talking about in that webinar is how to build that personal brand using social media. Because you're right, people put the highlight reel out there.
Exactly, that would
You
be
know,
a perfect way to
it's the
describe
highlight
it.
reel.
Yeah.
I always say, look, my life could be a train wreck some days. I have a 16-year-old son, an 8-year-old daughter, and a 4-year-old daughter who thinks she's the king of the world. And I mean, and she literally is a bull in a china shop. Like, she just destroys everything in her path. But I put that out there. Like, that's my life. That's who I am. I'm the most imperfect person there is. That's my brand. So I built my brand to let people know that this is me. I use the example, like in my podcast and when I talk on videos, is I say, I'm the same guy you'll get in a courtroom, a boardroom, or the bar room. I'm the same guy. I don't change who I am. I'm not a chameleon. I don't change my colors. I talk the same way. My mannerisms are the same. I'm Italian, so I swear a lot. But that's my brand. That's who I am. It's authentic. So in that webinar, what we're going to talk about is how to be comfortable being uncomfortable. That's the biggest piece of it, because people don't want to be vulnerable.
Right.
They don't want, like you said, they don't want people to see their weaknesses. They want to put on the show, but guess what? No one gives a shit about you. Like, really, no one cares. Like, if you're worrying about the opinion of others, no one cares. Like, I want to help people. I want to leave a legacy. I want people to think I'm a good person. But the only opinions I care about are those of my family and my kids. Those are the only people who really matter, their opinions. Everything else, and look, in my 20s, yeah, I cared, right? I'm a guy, I was single, like I cared what I wore, I wanted to make sure I was impressing people. Then you kind of figure that out, and that's how you build a brand. So in this, we're going to talk about using your social media platforms, how to tell your story. Because personal branding is all about storytelling. That's it. It's really that simple. It's not about putting up a highlight reel. It's not about putting up a facade. It's just telling your story. And what people don't understand is, as humans, we love a real story. Like, if you think about movies you watch, or fiction books you might have read. It's always about that real story. It resonates with you because you can see yourself in that situation. And that's why I always joke about, and even my podcast that I started, it's called It's Work, and it's the ups and downs and the in-betweens of the road to success. And I started it because I was getting so tired of hearing these entrepreneurs saying, I used to live on my sister's couch and now I'm a millionaire. I'm like, that's cool, great.
Yeah.
How did you get from the couch to your 1-bedroom apartment? And then from there to your house? Like, they don't talk about the journey.
Right.
Because it's hard and it's ugly. And it's not pretty and there's no real good highlights. That's the stuff people like. That's what a personal brand is. Telling that story and using social media, the different platforms, and understanding, Facebook compared to Instagram, compared to Snapchat, it's different language. If you can tell the same story, but you have to tell it in different ways. And that's what I plan on talking about. The nuances, like what has changed with the algorithms. There's a lot of stuff to social media that people don't get, but you have to, if you're going to be an entrepreneur and build a brand and tell your story, you got to understand those things as well. So that's really kind of the crux of it. And that's just going to be opened up to Q&A. Like, I want people to really engage me and pick my brain. I don't know everything. I know enough to be dangerous, and I think enough to help people. And that's really what the end goal of it is, really just to help people. And to just, I'm not trying to make money from it. It's free. It's more of just, hey, I have this information that can help people. I just like to talk to people. So I kind of selfishly did it to just meet people and share my information and kind of get a group of people that are looking for the same information onto a call to talk about that information.
Right.
So that's really the point of that webinar, I guess you would say.
Absolutely. And with social media, recently, a lot of changes have been going on on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. They're making a ton of changes, and if you want to understand the nuances of those different platforms, you got to stay up to date on those things. So how are you keeping up to date on these different things? Where are you getting your resources from to find out this information?
I research like a crazy person.
Okay.
I follow a lot of YouTube channels. I follow a lot of people on Twitter, on Instagram. There are social media influencers that are not necessarily influencers to sell product, but that actually understand social media. So I do that, and I read what Instagram puts out, what Facebook puts out. Like, what people don't miss, Instagram in January released a blog post on their website that talks about how their algorithm changed. And no one looked at it. I mean, people just didn't know it's there. And it's the information there. They put out, like, hey, this is what we're doing.
Right.
We want real engagement. These are the things you have to do to get noticed. It's just really, you got to spend the time. I always tell people, clients we take on, that strategy we start day one may change day 30. Not because we're changing it, because the platform's changing it. So it's really just got to stay up to date. You got to stay in front of it. You got to just constantly research. And Google's the best resource there is.
Right.
I mean, really, it's as simple. I wish there was a magic trick I can tell you that and tell everybody, like, hey, there's this one website you go to and you press this button and boom, all the magic's there. It's just hard work. It's just going on Google and just digging. And sometimes I'll find myself, 2 o'clock in the morning in a deep, dark hole of, like, where am I? What is this website even about? But you kind of keep going and try to find more information. That's really what I do.
I've fallen into the internet abyss.
I found myself there many times. Like, how did I get from researching Facebook to learning how to make a grilled cheese sandwich with peanut butter? Like, this is not, I don't know how I got there, but somehow Google took me there.
Right.
So.
There is one place that I know I go to as far as, like, information.
Yeah.
There's this website called TechCrunch.
Yeah, I've used that. Yes.
So I look up a lot of. I'm subscribed to their newsletter and all their updates. So I get a lot of alerts.
Yeah.
It comes into my email and things like that. So I stay up to date to a lot of information on there, as well as, like, entrepreneur.com and Success Magazine and Forbes and all that type of stuff. And
there's great podcasts out there too. There's I think the one is called Social Media Marketing Podcast. It's great. Like, it's these guys that really run a very good social media ad agency, and they talk a lot about it. And there's a good book too that I just read by Entrepreneur Magazine. I think it's like Facebook ads. I think it's just, I can't remember what it's called. It's a really thick book, but it really gets into how to correctly build ads and get an ROI. So it's another, I guess I just read a lot and research, listen to podcast videos, that type of stuff.
Yeah, and those are definitely all great resources. I mean, and just depending on how you like to consume information, I mean, you can get it in in written form.
Yeah.
You can get it in video form. You can listen to a podcast. So there's the information is out there. Figure out which avenue works best for you and get the information because it's critical when it comes to personal branding because, like I said, those changes that are happening in Facebook. Are going to affect people who do run businesses and try to market and things like that. So you got to change up your strategy and how you try to present it and actually try to build genuine engagement.
Exactly.
And I like the update. I know a lot of people don't like the update. I truly want. I like it because it challenges me to be more creative.
Right.
And I like to be creative, so I like this challenge that has been put before me. Number two, it gets all the people, it gets all the garbage out, gets all the noise out.
Yeah.
So I'm happy about that too. So I'm excited about the changes that are happening and building genuine community engagement and just building more connections.
Yeah, that's it. I mean that's what social media should be used for, and it's when it took off into different business avenues, it was hard because you're trying to use it as an ad. Because look, Facebook has become the new media, right? It's the new advertising. Like I tell clients all the time, forget spending money on TV, forget print, forget radio, put it on Facebook. Because you can literally target your exact customer.
Right.
Like you can target the 40-year-old male that has a gray beard that wore a purple shirt on a Saturday and put that ad in front of me.
Right.
And just me. So if I'm going to buy your thing, you could spend a very small amount of money to get it in front of me. Where on TV, you can kind of figure out where I live and put a TV commercial on a show you think I may watch, but it's not guaranteed. So it's so powerful, and it's just
absolutely.
And then getting that real engagement now is what they're trying to do because people are trying to manipulate that system. And I'm glad I'm the same way as you. Like I want that engagement. I want that community feel. I want that back. I'll pay money for the ads for business, but it's really about the engagement on the pages.
Right.
Absolutely.
One of the things I actually want to write a blog post on pretty soon is how the internet has really changed up the game in a lot of industries.
Yes.
From the way we view TV. It's not to your point as far as like putting ads on TV. Not that many people watch TV; they stream it. Not that many people listen to the radio; they listen to a podcast or on Pandora and things like that. You got stuff like. What is it? Uber and you got Facebook and all this different stuff. It's just and Netflix and watch the way you watch movies. Like it is changing the game, and we are in probably the greatest transitional period in history. And a lot of people aren't aware of this, and they are just not staying up to date. And like how much things are changing, and how much further in this direction we're going. And if you're not getting on it, and if you're not staying up to date with it, you're just going to be lost in the loop.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more, man. That's such a true statement.
Absolutely. So moving forward, where do you see yourself with all the things you have going on, and with all the capabilities that are going to be given to us in the future? Where do you see yourself going in the next year, 2 years, 5 years? What's the goal for yourself in the next couple of years?
That's a really good question. So, my goal would be, so I have all these things going on. My ultimate goal is to, from a business standpoint, is to build these different businesses, to get them to a point where I can oversee them and not necessarily be in the day-to-day and earn revenue and recurring revenue streams from those businesses. Because my real passion lies in stuff like this. Motivating others, inspiring others, speaking, writing. That's really where I want to spend the majority of my time, kind of being that motivational figure to help inspire others, because that's really where my passion is. I love to just help people. As I said, I'm getting my connector. Opportunities come from me helping people. So I'm trying really hard really now to build these businesses I have and these investments I've made to a point where they can basically support my family to the point where now I can spend my time doing what I'm passionate about 24/7. I'm not there yet. I'm getting there. But that's really where I see myself. So like I'm writing a book right now, a longer book. I'm starting to get into more speaking engagements.
Nice.
There's a lot of different things, and it's when people ask me this question, it's like it's hard for me to pinpoint an answer because I love variety in life. I don't want to eat pizza every day.
Right.
So and that's why I like to do different things, and I love different avenues. But I want to have these different businesses where I don't have to operate them. I can oversee them, and then I can operate on the things I want to operate on. Like the book writing, the speaking, that type of stuff. That's really where I see myself in the next probably 2 to 5 years.
Okay.
Hopefully the book I'm writing takes off, or if it doesn't, oh well, it's kind of my passion project. But yeah, that's really what I see myself, I would say.
So what are some of your marketing strategies, kind of, thinking about how you want to promote some of those things? How do you see that as far as how you distribute those different things that you want to see happen?
Yeah, so there's a couple ways. So first it was my podcast. So
Mhm.
I started my podcast, I think I'm on episode like 90.
Nice.
Yeah, I do it once a week. And I started it more as a personal therapy session.
Uh-huh.
It's my 15-minute rant about business or motivation, and I just love doing it. So I promote myself and a lot of things I'm doing through there. My YouTube channel, which I do, I got to get back to doing it a little bit more consistently. Marketing, to me, I take almost every type of social platform.
Mhm.
I use Instagram quite a bit. I use Facebook quite a bit. The podcasting. Those are probably 4 main avenues of content distribution and marketing distribution. The other piece of it is just I like to spend time meeting people. Like I'm a face-to-face guy. Like even like in my law practice or in my business, like people will call me on the phone. They want, hey, can you do this for me? I can. Let's meet in person first. I want to make sure we like each other.
I'm the same way. I mean, that's how we did it. I mean,
Exactly.
we connected on Instagram, but we got together for a cup of coffee and
Yeah.
chatted and built up the chemistry first.
Exactly, because if you think I'm a shithead, you're not going to have me on your show. And the same thing, like if I have a client, I don't like this client, or the client doesn't like me, they're not going to listen to what I say.
Right.
So it's not going. I'm not going to take their money to do work for them. That's why I'm a big face-to-face person. So that's a lot of the way I market myself. It's really building those personal connections, because I built all of my businesses on connections and personal relationships. That's what I believe is best. So I use the media platforms to distribute my content, but I use myself and my connections to really build my businesses from a marketing standpoint, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I follow the same process pretty
Yeah.
much. I use the different platforms to push out content and add value and things like that. It's the gateway to initially meet people.
Yeah.
And then you want to take it from online to offline and actually connect with people.
Yes.
And that's how I like to do it, and I feel like that's how it's worked out for me and you. And it's worked out great. To be able to sit down and chat over a cup of coffee and talk with like-minded individuals.
Yeah.
It's always great for me to sit down with somebody that is either thinking similar things or just have similar ideas. It's like, wow, there is other people out there like me. So I love connecting with other people.
And that's the thing too, and another piece of advice I would give people, and I'll talk to your audience now, I mean, your circle matters more than anything. And it took me a long time to realize that. Like, I have really good friends. They're like my best friends, best men at my wedding, fraternity brothers. I may not hang out with them as much as I used to because my circle has changed. Once your circle changes and you start surrounding yourself with different types of people, that's when opportunities open up. Because a lot of people get stuck in, the same circle of negative. Not saying my friends are negative, but any means they're the greatest people in the world.
Right.
But I've seen other clients that, sit in these circles of negativity, and then they're wondering why they're not going anywhere. Change your circle. Being around like-minded people, having discussions about ideas, not people or problems.
Right.
That's where the magic happens. People love to gossip and talk about others and problems. When you talk about ideas like we are, it inspires each other. It motivates each other. Then something comes from that, and that's where I think people miss out. And when they figure that out, it can change the game for them, but it takes a while to figure it out.
Right. I mean, as far as the association goes, there's 3 kinds of connections that you have. There's people that like to talk about other people.
Yep.
There's people that like to talk about events.
Yep.
And then there's people that like to talk about ideas.
Yep,
And I feel like we're in that. I feel like we're definitely in that third.
Yeah,
end of it. I mean,
absolutely.
and that's what a lot of Facebook is. Of people just talking about either gossip about other people.
Yes.
They have no contribution into their life, but for
Yeah.
whatever reason, they have a ton of interest into what they're doing.
Right.
And then you got people
Very
that
true.
talk about events that are
Yeah.
going on that,
Yeah.
once again, no contribution into their life,
Yeah.
waste of time.
Yeah.
But then you have the people where the real magic happens,
Yeah.
where people are actually able to collaborate and talk about ideas and
Yeah.
talk about the future and how we can connect resources. And like, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it.
Yeah. it's
So
the best.
yeah,
It
so
really is.
that's where you should want to be, because
Yeah.
that's where you're going to benefit the most.
Yeah. It's so true.
Absolutely. So where's the best place people can connect with you on social media?
So I'm most active, I would say, on Instagram. It's just the Rocco Cozza, ROCCOCOZZA. Same handle on Facebook as well. That's my personal business coaching page. I do have a law firm page, but that Instagram's probably the best place to connect with me. I respond to all my DMs. You know, I put stories up. You'll see my life. You'll see my kids.
Yeah.
You'll see my wife. You know, I like to think I have somewhat of an interesting life. Some people may think it's boring. I enjoy it. You know, I just get to meet cool people. I get to do cool things. That's probably the best place people can connect. Or you just go to my website, roccocozza.com as well. So.
Nice. So one quick question on your
Yeah.
Instagram and stuff like that. Who's taking your pictures? Do you have a photographer, or how are you getting that stuff?
So I've done a lot myself, and then the social media company that I'm part owners of, we had a photographer as well. And then my wife actually just met a new photographer. He did a photo shoot with her because she's a lifestyle blogger and a fitness instructor. So we tested him out. He did some really good ones. I'm gonna try and get some done with him. Then I just play around with the camera. Like like I said, I have a Canon and a bunch of different lenses, so I try stuff. I'm not an artist at all. So you know, and then my wife will take them. But it's you know, I'm pretty good with Photoshop now, like changing the filter colors, and I've kind of tried to figure out a theme to it. But yeah, that's really it.
Yeah, I was just curious because anybody that may be trying to build up their personal brand a lot more, maybe put out more cleaner content as far as the way the quality looks.
Yeah.
I was just curious how you were achieving that because a lot of your stuff is really good.
Thank you, I appreciate that, and I want people to understand it's you don't have to be perfect.
Right.
You know, there's some of my photos that are just terrible, that are just they're just like an iPhone photo, and it's, but that's me being authentic. I'm not a fan when I go on Instagram pages and see perfection.
Right.
So I'm like, that is not real life. Like, no one's life is perfect.
Right.
It's not. So I don't want my feed to look perfect. Some people have a different theory on that. That's just me. And it's, if you're starting to build that brand, just be real. Because if you're being real, you're being authentic, you're just putting out there, people will come. People will follow. People love a human story. They resonate with real people. If they see the fakeness or you're trying to be perfect, you're not going to gain traction as quickly.
Right. Even in addition, as we're getting close to wrapping up, one of the things that also helps as far as personal branding goes, that is starting to become a big thing, and well, it has been for some time, is vlogging.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something I've always toyed around with. But then I sit there and think, like, my life is not that exciting. Then I don't want to be that guy that's walking down the street with a camera. You know, I've done a little bit of it, and I'm like, these are terrible. Who's going to watch me eating breakfast and talking to my kids and going to an office? And going, it's just, but it's a great way to promote yourself.
Yeah.
If you have, and sometimes I think, well, maybe my life is interesting. I always toy around with it, but it's just the effort is I do time versus effort. Like, how much time is it going to take me? What's the benefit I'm going to get on it? So,
right.
But yeah, if you can do vlogging, I mean, I would definitely do it if you have the time and the energy and some interesting parts of your life. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, that's the biggest thing, just having the time to do it. Because if you're trying to release a daily vlog, that's a lot of work. It's tough just to get one video out a week. Right. Now you're trying to do a video a day. But I mean, but those also can be highly beneficial as well. I mean, if you could get to Daily V, if you could get to that, for people who don't know, that's Gary V, who has his own daily vlog. If you could get to that point where you have somebody actually following you around, okay,
right.
then you could do it. You know what I mean? But if you're like holding around like, hey, I'm in Starbucks about to get a frappuccino, like,
There's no one following me today. There's no one that came with me to videotape me. So I don't have that yet. So I would be great to have someone be able to follow me. I'm like, not there yet.
Not at that point yet.
Not there yet. Maybe someday, but it's. But you're right. I mean, if you could do it, great. I mean, because it's interesting, right?
Yeah.
And if you have stuff to say and a story to tell, people will watch it.
Absolutely.
People like real life. Reality TV. Look what happened with reality TV. It took off. So that's the same principle. So.
I mean, that's pretty much what vlogging is at this point. I mean, it's pretty much your own reality TV.
Absolutely. 100%.
So yeah. 100%. So I definitely appreciate the conversation. I appreciate you coming on to the show.
I really appreciate it.
I'm definitely looking forward to some more things that we have. Looking forward into the future, some more collaborations.
Definitely. Awesome.
Because I feel like we definitely together have a lot of big things
absolutely
going to happen.
Man.
So
really fun. This was great.
Definitely appreciate you coming on. So for everybody watching, now that you know what Rocco does with his 24 hours, I want to know what you do with your 24 hours. And also, I'm going to switch this up a little bit. If there was anything in this episode that you found valuable, comment down below, whether you're watching on YouTube or on Facebook. Let me know, let us know, because we want to hear your feedback, because at the end of the day, this is about you and if you're getting value out of it. So definitely leave those comments down below. If you're watching on YouTube, definitely subscribe, turn on notifications, and we will see you on the next episode.